We saw when Meghan posted her Instagram story returning home last night that the children are absolutely part of everything she wants to do business-wise, because one of those cards was actually addressed to Princess Lilibet Diana. Yep. Can you believe that? So she's basically saying the Australians have endorsed that my daughter is a princess. Not to mention the fact that it even makes me shudder, the fact that she's still using the Lilibet name, given that tomorrow's such a big day for the real Lilibet, the 100th birthday, or what would have been the 100th birthday of Queen Elizabeth II. You can imagine the fury about this. Meghan's Mike posting, when your daughter has no clue what it means to be a princess because she's locked up in a faraway prison.
The real force against this, of course, will be William, the Prince of Wales.
Yes.
Because the one thing which Harry never anticipated was that Andrew could be stripped of his titles, not by Act of Parliament, but by some constitutional fudge of a letters patent. When William, he will strip them of their titles, not only the Duke and Duchess of Sussex, but also the Prince. Harry, there'll be Mr. and Mrs. Windsor from then on, or whatever they want to call themselves. But that's the only way to stop this commercialisation, this exploitation.
Joins us on today's Daily Tea and says nonsense. They're awful and face being cut out of the royal family for good.
He takes us inside what he calls the treachery, the disloyalty and the duplicity of the Sussexes' post-royal life.
I think at some stage the royal family will have to say enough is enough. Let us cut this before it gets any worse.
Well, well, well. It looks like the grifters of Montecito have finally pushed it too far. On what should have been a day of quiet reflection, the 100th birthday of the late Queen Elizabeth II, Prince William has dropped the hammer. That's right, folks. The Prince of Wales has stripped Meghan Markle and her children of their royal titles. Stripped. Gone. Finished. No more hiding behind Prince Archie and Princess Lilibet. No more using the late Queen's own pet name Lilibet to flog dodgy candles. William has had enough of the endless commercialization, the exploitation, and the straight-up disrespect. And honestly, about bloody time. This isn't some minor slap on the wrist. This is seismic. This is the future king saying loud and clear, the Sussex circus stops here. The titles are being removed by letters patent, that clever constitutional fudge they used on Prince Andrew. And from now on, it's plain old Mr. and Mrs. Windsor, or whatever ridiculous name they decide to rebrand themselves as next week. Because let's be honest, these two change identities more often than Meghan changes outfits for her Instagram stories. And what triggered this royal reckoning? None other than Meghan's latest tacky money grab. Her so-called as-ever candle line. Yes, the same woman who turned up in Australia with crowd control barriers for 47 people has now decided to slap royal titles on overpriced, substandard candles and tie them directly to her kids. Inspired by Prince Archie and inspired by Princess Lilibet Diana. She even had the nerve to use the name Lilibet right before the late Queen's 100th birthday. The sheer disrespect is off the charts. You can imagine the fury in the palaces. While the rest of the world was remembering a century of service from Britain's longest reigning monarch, Meghan was busy trying to turn Lilibet into a scented candle that doesn't even have a working wick. $90 a pop for something you can't even light properly. That's not a product. That's a joke. A sad, desperate, pathetic joke. Instead of worrying about delivering candles that actually burn, she was too busy worrying about titles and trying to play royal. Classic Meghan. All flash, no substance. All grift, no class. And then, after the backlash hit, what did she do? She quietly removed every single reference to the royal titles from the product descriptions. Just like that. One minute the press materials are screaming Prince Archie and Princess Lily. The next minute, those words have mysteriously vanished. Poof. Gone. Why the sudden U-turn, Meg? Scared, were we? Got a phone call, did we? Someone higher up finally picked up the phone and told her in no uncertain terms to knock it off before things got even uglier. Because this wasn't just merching anymore. This was openly defying the late Queen by using her personal nickname for commercial gain, a serious violation of royal law and royal protocol. And William wasn't having it. Tom Bower said the real force against all this nonsense would be William. Harry never saw it coming. He thought once he and his wife walked away, they could keep milking the royal connection forever. He never anticipated that William would do to them what was done to Andrew. Strip the titles the moment he has the power. And now that moment has arrived, sooner than anyone expected.
Is her hypocrisy and her narcissism and her commercialization and, frankly, her appalling behavior to stay in Britain, but just took the title. And in the end, what I really hold against her, she betrayed all those people who tried very hard, from the best of intentions, from the Queen downwards, to make her feel welcome and believe that she would integrate herself into the royal family, into Britain. What she couldn't understand was the language. She couldn't understand what being royal means. She didn't understand resist. Because in the end, one of Meghan's many deficiencies is she has nothing to say. There's no originality. There's no profundity. She rehearses lines, she rehearses quotations from poems, but actually, she is not a fundamentally interesting person.
Australia tour was all about selling, and yes, I did say the word selling. Merching is not strong enough. The children. So-called Prince Archie, so-called Princess Lily. Now the Sussexes are openly defying Queen Elizabeth II by selling products named and based on these minors. It's completely disgusting, of course, but it's not a surprise given everything that we have seen. And it's not going to work either, as bombshell new polling shows that not just us internationally, but Australians themselves were completely disgusted by the bullying and toxic display that we saw down under last week.
They've fallen so far. It's so grubby, their trip to Australia. If he actually comes to London for these games, the Invictus Games, and goes to Birmingham, the idea of Meghan coming here appalls everyone. They're furious with the Sussexes on the whole. The general mood is just don't want anything to do with them. And if he loses the Daily Mail case, he'll be even worse, because he'll then be like Andrew, branded as a liar, that his evidence wasn't honest and sincere. So he has huge reputational problems.
Her own word says, do nothing else but invade their own privacy every hour of the day. And I do think the use of the children is quite reprehensible.
And I just also want to show you Meghan's own Instagram post of the trip, because this was so telling to me. She is, number one, completely tone deaf, given that all of the grossness of this hospital visit, where she said, remember, before she entered, let's make this quick, and then decided to use these cancer victims, still front and center. But what is abundantly clear is that Meghan now views her husband as just a bit part player in this business, because it's all about her.
They are desperate. They have lost. They haven't got any more programs lined up. They're running out of money. They've lost their credibility. They're very, very anxious to return to Britain to resume their royal titles, because revalidate them, because they are diminished as people.
Harry and Meghan spend so much time preaching to keep your children off the internet, yet they'll use other people's children to, elevate themselves and elevate their brand. And these are poor, sick kids. And within seconds of those pictures circulating, or those pictures being uploaded online, you can then access Meghan's wardrobe on this new AI app that she's launched. And she gets a piece of the commission if she makes a sale.
The children, so-called Prince Archie and so-called Princess Lily, have been dragged right into the middle of this grift. These poor kids are being used as marketing props, while apparently being locked away in a faraway Montecito fortress. They don't go to normal school. They don't play with other children in the park. They're hidden from the world except when it suits Mummy's latest money-making scheme. It's actually quite sad when you think about it. What kind of life is that for two young children? Harry should be ashamed of himself for allowing this to happen. But we all know he doesn't have the spine to stand up to his wife. We saw it during the Australia trip. That whole tour was nothing but one long sales pitch. The empty hotel ballroom with untouched tables and upside-down glasses. The 2-hour appearance at a $3,000 a ticket retreat before she scarpered off to watch rugby. The hospital visit where sick children were wheeled out like accessories so she could flog the outfit she was wearing the moment she left. The Bondi Beach stunt, where she turned up at a terror attack memorial site and immediately put the look up for sale. And through it all, the Australian public gave them the coldest shoulder imaginable. The crowd went mild. Barriers up for nobody. A sunbathing woman who didn't even glance their way. A little girl who quietly pulled her sketchbook away from Meghan like she sensed something off. That silence was louder than any protest could ever be. And the polling that came out afterward showed Australians were utterly disgusted by the whole toxic display. Then, just to rub salt in the wound, Meghan posts her Instagram story when they get home, and one of the cards is addressed to Princess Lily Diana. She's basically claiming the Australians endorsed her daughter's title. Tone deaf doesn't even begin to cover it. While the real Lilibet, Queen Elizabeth, should have been celebrated on her 100th birthday, Meghan is out here trying to commercialize the name for candle sales. It makes you shudder. And let's not pretend the candles themselves aren't a complete con. Crafted and curated by Meghan, they claim. What a load of rubbish. She probably smelled a few bits of paper, picked two she liked, and called it curation. $90 for a candle with no wick, or a wick that doesn't work. People are lighting them and nothing happens. It's embarrassing. Instead of obsessing over titles and pretending her kids are real-life royals, maybe worry about making a product that isn't complete junk. This whole saga proves one thing. Meghan knows exactly what she's doing. She pushes and provokes, drags the children and the late Queen's name into her schemes, and then acts surprised when the backlash comes. She removed the titles from the candles because she got scared. She got told. Someone made it very clear that this level of exploitation would no longer be tolerated. William has shown he's not playing games. He's protecting the monarchy from this endless commercialization. The titles were never truly theirs to exploit in the first place. The matter of the children's styles was settled last year, yet Meghan kept flaunting them anyway, treating Prince and Princess like her personal brand extensions. Not anymore. This move on the late Queen's 100th birthday feels poetic in a way. A final line in the sand, drawn in honor of the woman who spent a century putting duty above everything. While Harry and Meghan were busy turning royalty into a Netflix special and a candle collection, William was quietly preparing to do what needs to be done. Harry must be in absolute shock. He never thought his own brother would go this far. But William has always been clear. Betray the family, exploit the institution, and you're out. Just like he did with certain friends over the years. Once you cross William, there's no coming back. And Harry has crossed every line imaginable. The Oprah interview, the book, the constant attacks. And now, letting his wife drag the children and the late Queen's name into this grubby world of substandard products. The gap between what they say and what they do has become impossible to ignore. They lecture about mental health and privacy while erecting crowd barriers on empty streets and charging $3,000 for 90 minutes of Meghan's victim speech. They claim to care about vulnerable people while wheeling immunocompromised children into a foyer for a photo op and then immediately linking the outfit for sale. They say they want a normal life, but can't stop commercializing every single thing they touch. And now the titles are gone. The ultimate symbol of the connection they've been milking for 6 long years has been severed. No more prince and princess to prop up failing brands. No more royal-adjacent glamour to hide behind. Just plain Mr. and Mrs. trying to sell candles that don't light and retreats that nobody wants to attend. Australia already showed them what the public really thinks: silence and indifference. Now William has made it official. The future king has drawn the line, and the Sussexes are firmly on the wrong side of it. This wasn't a protest with signs and shouting. It was quieter and far more devastating. Just like the empty streets in Sydney, the untouched tables in that hotel ballroom, and the woman on Bondi Beach who couldn't be bothered to look up. Australia didn't need to say a word. Their absence said everything. And now William has spoken with action instead of words. The grift is crumbling. The titles are stripped. The products are exposed as the cheap tat they always were. And on the 100th birthday of the late Queen, the monarchy has sent a clear message. Enough is enough. You cannot spin an empty room. You cannot spin stripped titles. You cannot spin candles with no wicks and a daughter's name turned into a marketing tool on the wrong day. If this one hit different, you know what to do. Smash that like button, drop a comment below, and tell me, what disgusted you the most? The no-wick candles? The Princess Lily card posted right before the Queen's birthday? Or William finally doing what so many of us have been waiting for? I'm reading every single comment, because this story isn't over yet. But one thing is crystal clear. The Sussex era of exploiting royal titles for personal profit just came to a very abrupt, very public end. And on the late Queen's 100th birthday, no less. Poetic justice at its finest.